We are back with the Buffalonian Podcast. I'm Joe Cali. As always, I'm joined by none other than Dom Loss. And Dom, we're officially here. We have something to talk about first. The team that season has been over for a few days now, the Buffalo Sabres. But we have officially arrived at the NFL Draft. We're a day out recording this. You'll see this tonight. We're going to do official mock draft for you. But first, to the hockey team, because there were some interesting tidbits, I think, in some of these press conferences to close out the season. But the Sabres season, again, if you've been living under a rock, 14th year without a playoff berth, season's officially over, lockers are cleaned out. Key Bank is home to the Bandits for their playoff run, hopefully extended playoff run. We're going to have to wait and see how that goes. Starts this Friday. But I guess starting off with locker clean out for the players, then we could get into Ruff and Kevin Adams, because they spoke both in very lengthy amounts about the season. And I think there were some positive things said from some players. Tage, Dahlin saying, it just looked like the locker room culture finally is where it needs to be. Like someone gets nailed and they're actually going to do something about it, where in the beginning of the year, if you told me that, I wouldn't doubt it, but that they would just watch and see nothing happen. But watching those conferences, anything you took away from that, or is it just more or less like, come on, like we got to be better than this?
I thought it was a good thing that your two superstars go at each other and push each other to be better. When you said, talk about Tage and Dahlin,
yeah,
just kind of go at each other when they're not giving like the proper effort. I think you need that at the top. I think Power only being out, not being able to do hockey stuff for 2 months, he said, is just a massive win.
Yeah,
and that could have been
Matthias Samuelsson could have really hurt the team for an extended period of time if that went wrong. So it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think other than that, not nothing too interesting, to be honest. I didn't find anything too interesting other than obviously Josh Norris. It was a mid-body injury. It was a torn oblique.
Yes.
So and they knew. My frustration again is that they knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
They knew it was I guess an issue. I doubt they traded him for torn oblique. I bet he had like a sprain or something like that.
It worsened after he was already in Buffalo. Yeah, for sure.
It's just kind of like, okay, this is kind of what we're getting at. We're like, do we need a trade for that asset? Because again, you didn't, even in a loss, as you said, the season was over a long time before it actually was.
Mm-hmm.
But you just didn't get any information on him. Like you got some information on Bernard Docker, which is like, okay, like this guy probably going to be a net negative on offense, but it's going to be kind of maybe a solid in his own end, can really transition the puck, so that helps your defense as well. And could be an interesting young bottom pair right shot defenseman. You just don't have any information on Josh Norris, and this is a guy making nearly $8 million a year. And so I guess for me, I think the Sabres, I don't think they're going to flip them. I find that to be kind of a very rare chance that happens. I think they kind of made their bed with this trade, and they're going to see how it goes out.
I think you're going to see him hopefully get healthier and play well. I mean, you got to see it at least for a minute, maybe.
I guess there's like three questions on each level of forwards, defense, and goalie. It's like for goalie, it's like, what do you do? Kind of with the UPL of like, again, really good last year, was one of the better seasons, not probably the best goaltending season, non-Ryan Miller in 15 years.
We thought he cracked the code, and this season
just not ideal. So it's kind of like, what do you do kind of there? What do you do with Levi? Because like Levi probably should get another year in the AHL. So kind of the backup goaltender. Like Reimer played well, but again, Reimer's in his late 30s. Are you going to count on him? And you kind of need. I would want a goaltender that could play some workload here.
Mm-hmm.
Defense, again, it's just like I'm beating a drum, but it's like, who are you going after for their own power partner?
Yeah, you need a pair of top. You need a top four defenseman.
Like that to me is the question. It's like if you find that, I just think it unlocks power. I think you have Dahlin, and you have that power pair. Then that bottom pair, Bernard Docker, and then whoever you want on the bottom. Like you kind of could figure it out. Whoever you want Dahlin's power. Whoever you want Dahlin's partner to be.
Probably Bo Byram at this point, because I mean,
heck no.
I think he's sticking around. The way he sounded and the way Adams talks about him, I would predict he's here for longer than people want him to be.
I actually disagree with that. I think they were both pretty non-committal.
Yeah,
I think he was just.
Byram finally commented on it. He's been asked for weeks about his future with the Sabres, and
he's not going to say no. I mean, if they offered him a long-term contract, he'll take it.
Right, which I don't think long term is the thing, but I think he'll be here for a minute as a Dahlin. They're going to take advantage of the Dahlin merchant if they pair someone with power, because he plays well when he's paired with Dahlin.
Yeah, but at that point, I mean, you're gonna have to bridge him, and at that point, it's gonna be like $6 million a year, and I think there's a good argument to be made that you could find a player making $3 million a year to play with Dahlin. You get the same impact, so then you have $3 million left over to, excuse me, to maybe go get that backup goaltender. So yeah. I just think, I don't know.
I mean, it could go either way. I'm not. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I also I don't trust this organization as far as I can throw it right now, especially because the GM is still going to have a season next year, and looks like the coaching staff might get a little change for Lindy's sake. That might be cool to see maybe some of his own staff selected instead of
that has to happen.
Yeah, and then the Granato skeleton needs to end. Like, it's got to be buried.
He's got to hire his own guys. And then lastly, like forward-wise, I guess the question really has to remain, is Tage a center or is a wing? Because like Lindy made those comments really early in the year.
He did.
About like mostly at Tage and Cousins of like, you have responsibilities at center, and if I don't think you could do them, like, you're gonna go to wing.
Mm-hmm.
And they moved out Cousins.
They did, and
they've really played Thompson in a wing, and it's kind of like, I kind of think maybe he is better out there at wing because I don't know if you really want to be relying on Kulik, but like Kulik was kind of solid at being that top line center.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Josh Norris. I think it's good to have that flexibility in Tage because I think that's kind of like your fallback plan in case Norris gets injured again.
Yes.
Of just having Tage go back to center and drop everyone down, but you have McLeod to be your third line center, who should get a long-term contract or something. And then Krabs is just kind of whatever as your fourth liner, but that's so. I think that has to be a decision you have to make because if the decision is that he's just going to play wing, it's like, all right, then you probably don't have to add a mega wing, but I still have to add to that group, I think.
Yeah, they're if they don't make any additions, if Adam sits on his hands again this offseason,
he won't.
He has to make additions, but hopefully they're worthwhile. And I'm really here looking at what's going to happen with the coaching staff. I think Appert might be the only one you don't really touch, and you move him off the power play. Don't get me wrong, but I think he stays on the staff because it sounds like they're grooming him in a way to be handed the keys once Ruff is done.
Yeah, if they're a serious organization, him, Walford, they're all fired.
What do you mean? Appert, everybody?
Yeah, I would fire him today.
Would you?
Absolutely. Why would I not fire him?
I don't know. It just
I'm sorry, you're the power play coach, and the power play for the entire season until kind of the end of the year was terrible, and even at the end of the year, it wasn't like they were generating good offense. They just kind of got some bounces. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like, I mean, they scored, like, I think, a 5-on-3 against Florida late in the year, and it was like, all right, congrats. Like, that was a mess for like 2 minutes, but then in the last 10 seconds, you made one pass, and the guy was open, and he got it. Like,
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I don't see him firing him because I think that
you're being more real. You're probably being a realist. I'm probably being just the absolute like have to be.
My mindset is clean out 100% minus Ruff and let Ruff just pick the guys, but realistically, I think Appert does stick around because they want to.
I doubt it because I think at the once they announced that, I think there'd be so. It's like when they announced that Barrow was coming back for that 1 year, and then everyone was all pissed. And then
Kraken GM now, by the way. Him. Yeah,
I gotta say, sidebar. Greg Wisniewski from ESPN. That was one of the dumbest tweets I've ever seen in my life.
What did he say? I didn't even see it.
It was like basically like, oh yeah, Barrow got, it's now the name, elevated or promoted, I should say, to the GM for the Kraken. And he was like, yeah, like his tenure in Buffalo, we know now it wasn't his fault.
What?
Like, what a diabolical. Like, I mean,
he did everything. Kruger, like, all of that was him. Yeah.
So I was like, that's a diabolical statement.
Oh my God.
Listen, I'm all for like.
What's with the forgiveness? Is my question.
My thing is this: you could be like, listen, he didn't have a good go around. He's learned from it and all that. Like, you could have spun it that way, spinning it that like, oh, Buffalo's just a crap place. It's like this is why local people in Buffalo hate the national hockey media. It's like, yeah, they crap on Buffalo, but like, it's not all Buffalo's fault sometimes. Like that guy, those drafts, he drafted one good player in 3 drafts.
Yeah, he
and what is his name? Rasmus Dahlin. What pick was he made? First. Like
he drafted Middlestat, all those guys too, and
Marcus Davidson. So
he was the Ryan O'Reilly trade was him.
Yeah, and the Ryan O'Reilly trade, okay. It's like, oh, congratulations, you got the 4th best prospect at the time from St. Louis.
Yeah,
and he only worked out because Colorado didn't want to trade a 5th-round pick for him, and you hired a coach that was terrible for him, and the new guy came in and fixed him because he got a coach that believed in him. So it's like, I'm sorry, like you're just not going to get me. The Botterill hoarding all like these terrible defensemen, not trading Ristolainen when they could have got something actual value like Ehlers for him.
Yeah,
I could go on and on. I'm just not going to. I'm going to go back to that what we're talking about. But that was like one of the worst tweets I've ever seen. I was like, well, it's the same thing with the ERAT trade comparison for the McLeod one. It's like, okay, like this is why people hate the national media here in Buffalo, because they're just terrible at just taking the stupidest. Like there was so much stuff you could actually swing at on us, and it's like, you know what, I could agree with that.
The public relations is definitely not strong with the
NHL but like
media.
why do we got to do the like stuff that like, okay, yeah, it was his fault, like he did a crap job, like we can say that, but whatever. Adams, I guess the thing it's interesting, you're saying you're looking at the coaches. I'm really more looking at the front office because it's supposedly that they're going to do changes. I find it interesting though because they were like, oh yeah, they're going to meet this week, and now it's like there's more reports it's going to be meeting next week because of the Bills draft. I'm like, yeah, well, who could have saw that coming? Like,
who could have saw that coming?
Like Terry,
it's almost like the Bandits should have been looking at that schedule too. A whole playoff game on the 25th. But
well, it's like shocker. Who could have saw that coming? That Terry's not going to want to meet with Cali and Dom the week of the NFL draft for the his baby. So,
one is his baby and one's the kid who moved out and is successful.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
But we're talking about maybe the same thing that happened in Seattle, where Ron Francis got promoted president of hockey ops, and they hired Botterill. Well, I guess promoted Botterill.
Elliot Friedman in 32 Thoughts, he threw that out there before the presser from Adams and Lindy Ruff, and that was not made. No move was made on that in the press conference, but
they should do it.
I 100% agree, and I think everybody in the city is like, okay, Adams, president of hockey ops, get a new GM in here. And no, it's not Lindy Ruff. I've seen too many people saying that. Coaches do not transition very well to the general manager position. Exactly. And that was a nostalgia. Oh, we got to bring the vibes from the 90s back, like the winning culture. That did not work. So that was my initial concern with bringing Lindy back. It's like, just was it that? I don't know. But
yeah, then the other reports were like they didn't buy in early in the season, and then now late in the season they bought in. It's like, okay, like this is what it
seemed like the entire offseason they were bought in. Alex Tuck was the biggest. He was the biggest mouthpiece for everybody buying into the Lindy Ruff move. He was excited about it, and a lot of the team was. So I don't want to hear that.
I just don't understand that about a professional sports team, but whatever.
Right.
That's kind of all I had to say about the Sabres for today.
We can spread this through the offseason because we got to talk about them. But
I'm hopeful that maybe next week we get some more information.
After this, whenever this meeting's supposed to happen.
Yeah, regarding coaching changes and front office organizational changes. Yeah, are you ready to talk about?
Yeah, let's go to the successful team looking to expand its roster.
The second most successful team in Buffalo.
Second most successful team in Buffalo, right? No championships. The Bandits are the number one successful team in Buffalo. So, again,
that won't make anyone mad.
No, I don't think so though.
I mean, it's true. It's just like
we're spitting facts. Like I don't really know. I don't know how else we can. The NHL media could have swung that a different way. I don't know how we can swing that another way. Like, I guess the NFL is a bigger sport. You can go that way, but the NLL is growing. But anyway, we'll talk about. We'll wrap up the show with the Bandits. Just a little preview of their, because the first game for them is one and done, and then it goes to series after that. So their playoff structure is a little interesting to me.
Yeah.
But, the Buffalo Bills begin the draft tomorrow, Thursday, April 24th. 7 p.m., I think, is when it all starts. And will we wait till pick 30? Will they trade up? Will they trade out? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But you're going to get – you got a mock draft last week where we let the CPU, the AI, pick every other pick, and we just picked the Bills pick. We're going to go a little more we're going to go a little more engaging on this one, and we're going to draft for every team in the NFL. And the mocks have shaken up in the past 24 hours. Some trades could happen. We're not going to do the trades because, unfortunately, I'm not spending on a premium PFF package the day before the draft where I'll use it once. But
important disclaimer: this is what we would do.
Yes,
not what we think the teams would do.
What would the Buffalonian Podcast do? WWTBPD. WWTBD.
I'm just going to take your word that you did that correctly.
I think I did. I think I did. But yeah, it's time for the official 2025 Buffalonian full NFL mock draft, because we did last week, like I said, only pick for the Bills. We're going to pick for all of them today. So it's going to be an interesting exercise. Dom, what do you think? You're going to take pick one. I'm going to take pick 2. I'm going to be the even pick, so that means I'll end up with the Bills pick. Are you ready?
Yes.
You're excited. You're ready. This is huge. You're on the clock. Tennessee Titans needs quarterback, wide receiver, edge, and linebacker.
Yeah, I'll take Cam Ward.
I was going to say, if you go any other way.
It's a little bit like, what would you do? I probably would try and trade out if I'm I'm trying to be somewhat realistic and somewhat what I would do. And this is the guy that they've been honed in on, and he's the clear best quarterback in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Has top.
You have 12 trade offers, by the way, if we were going to take a trade.
Has top half of the league, potential of being that good. So I'll take Cam Ward. They get their franchise guy. They get to sell some tickets in the new stadium because they have a shiny toy in a couple years. So
yes, exactly. I like it. It's a chalk pick. These first few are going to be, and then things could shake up. So I think I'm going to go Abdul Carter here for the Browns. Just kidding. Travis Hunter. Will he be a wide receiver? Will he be a cornerback? Will he be both in the NFL? We'll have to wait for training camp to see that. But Travis Hunter goes to the Cleveland Browns. Next to number 3, the Giants. Who are you taking?
The Giants are probably a team that wants to also trade back because Carter's on the board. He's like one of the 2 blue chip prospects of Hunter. And they have Burns and Thibodeau. I think it's pretty obvious they're going to pick Carter.
Abdul, here we go. Drafted to the New York Giants. Drake May needs some help. The Patriots front office knows that. Will Campbell out of LSU is looking pretty nice at pick 4, so I'm going to go ahead and grab him. This is where pick 5 now is where things look like they could be shaking up on the draft board. Dom gets to shake things up first. Are the Jags going to take Genty, or are they going elsewhere? Are they going wide receiver? Are they going McMillan? What are you doing?
Well, I think the Jags are going to pick Genty, but
what would you do?
Well, what I would do is I would pick Mason Graham. So
going to take Mason Graham.
I would take the interior defensive lineman.
Out of Michigan. The Raiders are on the clock, and that means Ashton Genty is still available. I'm taking Genty for the Las Vegas Raiders. I almost said Oakland there. Watched Draft Day the other day and just watched. We should have done a Draft Day mock draft, just where things go absolutely insane. But after
terrible movie.
It is a terrible. It's a good but terrible movie. Like, vibes are good. Realism, not a factor in that movie whatsoever. All those GMs, we're talking about Kevin Adams, NFL GMs, those guys would be gone. 100%. That guy from Seattle, he got played. He's gone. After you, though. New York Jets, trying to rebuild their franchise. What's going on?
So the Jets, I would assume in real life, might take an edge because of what happens. But again, what we would do, I think they're going to, in this scenario, what I would do was I would take our man Menbu, the tackle out of Missouri.
I thought you said our man Membu. I was confused for a second.
Our man Menbu. Yeah, he's a good right tackle. They need a right tackle. They drafted Ole last year. They have a pretty good interior build. They want to build the ground.
Yes, I like that. The Panthers. Bryce Young's my guy, as we know on this show. So I got to get him some wide receiver help. He needs more than Adam Thielen. I'm going McMillan right here at pick 8 for the Carolina Panthers. Pick 9. The Saints. Derek Carr could be missing extended time. Do they draft Shedeur? Do they take the quarterback, or do they go elsewhere? What do they do?
Well, what I would do is try and trade out, but I'll be somewhat realistic here. I think they're gonna pick this guy, so I'll pick him actually in this mock. Michael Williams, the edge from Georgia.
Gotcha. I'm gonna grab him.
Yeah, he's down apparently in the PPS. He might be down further, man.
What was his name again?
Michael Williams. Right
Williams
there.
Out of Georgia.
I actually think that's gonna be their pick. They're gonna draft an edge.
I like it though.
I don't think they're gonna draft Dart at 9.
So I'm gonna look in. I know running back's a need for the Bears. I think it's a deep class. I might look for D-line. And
what are their needs?
Running back, defensive lineman, and safety.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think they could go tight end here. I think they would get Warren.
You think?
If Genty's not available and nor is Mason Graham,
You're absolutely right. Tyler Warren, I know a big Colts fan. He is hammering the table for Tyler Warren. And I think the Colts, they could use a big tight end. So
lucky for them, there's 2.
Lucky for them, there is 2. And I think you're right, though. I do, thinking about the Bears roster as a whole, tight end is a need, especially with Caleb Williams. You get a nice little tight end attack formation going there. I think that could be big for him. So Tyler Warren is drafted by the Bears. Sorry, my buddy Trev, if he listens or watches this and sees me take him for the Bears. But Who are you looking at for the 49ers?
I would take.
Their needs are guard, tackle, defensive lineman, and quarterback. That's cornerback. Excuse me.
I would take. I think they would take Barron. I think in real life they're gonna draft maybe an edge, or they're gonna draft who's his name? I'm blanking on his name. Banks, or like an offensive lineman.
Yeah. Well, the Dallas Cowboys, I'm not putting my head in Jerry Jones's because I do not want to ever live there. They need apparently a running back, wide receiver, guard, and edge rusher. I don't know where I go first. I think the running back class is deep, so I don't really want to touch that in round one. We're only doing one round, by the way, for the sake of just announcing that. I'm probably going to go defense here, edge rusher, change it up a little bit.
I would think they would go receiver.
You think?
I think they'd like Golden or McMillan, whoever's on the board.
McMillan I took, I believe. Let's see who's on the board wide receiver-wise.
I think, Golden would still be left.
Burden, Matthew Golden out of Texas. And it's a local kid. I mean, wide receiver is a need, so I guess I'll take your advice on that. We'll draft Matthew Golden. Miami Dolphins. Are you going to just tank their pick on purpose? Because they seem to be tanking their franchise the way things are being run right now.
No. I'm going to go Banks here.
Are you?
Yeah, I think that's probably the spot for him. Maybe they go corner with Jalen Ramsey. You might have to search him. He would be in like the offensive tackle. Yeah.
Calvin Banks.
Yep.
Draft.
No, this is an easy pick for you going up with the Colts.
Yeah, tight end. I had one in mind. I mean,
easily Loveland.
Mr. Loveland out of Michigan. Drafted to the Colts.
All right, then I think the Falcons are an easy edge team.
Are they taking a quarterback? Are they taking Shedeur Sanders? Are they going to do what they did last year with Michael Penix Jr.?
I think they're going to pick edge.
Edge? Okay.
They're ecstatic that they're going to get edge. Is Jalen Walker? Can you look up Walker?
Yeah.
I don't know if we took him.
Nope. He's a linebacker out of Georgia. He's available.
I think he's a tweener. I think they would take him.
Yeah.
Get some pass rush juice. Some people have him as the second best edge in the class behind Carter, so I think they would take him here.
Okay. Jalen Walker, drafted. Okay. I'm going guard for the Cardinals. They want an O-lineman here. I got to find it. Interior offensive lineman. I'm going Tyler Booker out of Alabama. Boom. To Arizona.
The Bengals are gonna take. They're gonna take Mike Green here, the edge.
Mike Green, out of Marshall. Seattle Seahawks on the clock. They need a cornerback. I'm gonna go that way.
Do they have Zabel on the board?
Starts with a Z.
Yeah.
Yep.
They would probably take him.
Yep.
Yeah. Or I mean, the receivers are gone, so I would assume.
There we go.
I think
Buccaneers. They don't need a wide receiver. They have.
I think they're going to take Jahad Campbell, the off-ball linebacker from Alabama.
There
here.
you go. You need some defensive help for Baker.
Yeah, they have Levante David, but he's getting up there in age.
So
go a lot of different ways here for
the Broncos have a lot of needs. I think they're going to look at the receiving board, and I know actually a lot of mock drafts leaned towards Burden falling to the Bills. But I think they look for wide receiver for Bo Nix to add a little bit of extra help for them. And then they take a wide receiver. They take Luther Burden.
21
for the Steelers. You know who's available and who needs a quarterback?
Yeah, I do.
Mike Tomlin and Shedeur Sanders. This could be interesting. Get rid of Aaron Rodgers. 100%. Get the vibes out of there. What do you think? Is Shedeur going to continue to plummet?
I think realistically he might, but I think at the Steelers there's a good chance they still take him, so I'll take Shedeur here, I guess. I don't love it.
Shedeur Sanders, quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is unbelievable. On the clock now, the Chargers, and I think they go I'm going to look and see any good tight ends left. No, not in the first round at all. Wide receiver, Egbuka out of Ohio State, Jaden Higgins.
Do they have D-line as the other? I would think
defensive lineman.
I would think they're going to pick defensive lineman.
Yeah, at this point, there's nothing to really reach on. Jared Wilson.
That's interior. That's offensive
lineman. No, you're good. You're good. That was a misclick on my end there. DI. Walter Nolan is available.
Oh.
Kenneth Grant.
The Michigan guy to the Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, Michigan guy, Jim. But I want Kenneth Grant for the Bills, but I can't think like that. I do think Nolan, if you're ADP chasing, Nolan is the better pick, so I'm going to go Nolan. If I was looking at the draft board, I'm going to pick Nolan. Who do the Packers pick? The guy with the same logo, the safety? No, they don't need a safety.
Packers are going to take... Shamar Stewart, the edge out of Texas A&M.
Okay, edge out of Texas A&M, Shamar Stewart.
I think we get some run on these edges here.
Yep. The Minnesota Vikings. Defensive interiors in need. Edge.
They got D-back.
Defensive back. Yeah, I got to...
Yeah.
My scroll wheel is just not looking great here. I think they might take Kenneth Grant here. I think Grant goes to the Vikings. I think the Bills are left out of luck there.
I think the Texans. I think the two, Zabel and Booker both went.
Mm-hmm.
Who has offensive tackle? Simmons, I think, is too rich.
Josh Simmons, Connerly.
No, not those guys.
Any offensive line?
Wide receiver. We're gonna pick up Buka here. C.J. Stroud's boy.
Yep.
In college.
It's a good one. Good one. The Rams. They need a tight end, tackle, linebacker, cornerback.
They're probably gonna take a corner then.
Yeah, that's where I was leaning.
The other three needs.
Will Johnson out of Michigan.
They're
taking him. There's no question about it. If he's there.
Yeah.
The Baltimore Ravens need a guard, edge rusher, defensive back. That's what apparently is needed.
This could be probably Stark, so I'll take Starks.
Malachi, yeah. With Hamilton, oh man, that's what a defense. That's crazy.
Then
the Lions.
It says edge, so
edge. I'm gonna see what's going on there.
Azaraku. You can
Pierce Jr., Scorton.
One of those two, Azaraku or.
I'll take Azaraku. I think.
Oh man.
Bills, the slim pickings coming up for Buffalo. Commanders on the clock.
Hampton has fallen. I'll take James Pierce.
James Pierce, the edge rusher out of Tennessee.
They need an edge to Washington. So here you go.
Here we go.
Who's on the board?
The
Josh
Bills.
Simmons. No, who are their needs, they say?
Edge, linebacker, cornerback. Trey Amos out of Mississippi is on the board. Let's see the edge rushers still available. Nick Scorton.
Hell no.
Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. Nope. Braden Swinson out of LSU.
What are the D tackles left?
Got to click off of edge. Norman Lott. Tyleek Williams out of Ohio State. Derek Harmon, I've seen go.
It's up to you, my boy.
Let's see. You know what? I saw a mock draft today where someone said, is linebacker in the question? Let's just see. Demetrius Knight Jr. No one worth taking at all. Man, I hope this isn't the case for tomorrow, but I do have to go Derek Harmon, I think.
Okay.
I think that's who I'm taking.
Punting on corner, okay. Mm-hmm. 31 Chiefs, they're going to take Josh Simmons. They're going to take the risk with the ACL. The tackle.
And then the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Who do they take? Let's see. They need a wide receiver, guard, edge, or cornerback.
People are thinking they're going to draft a tight end because they're going to trade Goddard.
That might not be the worst decision, but the tight end's left.
Yeah, they're going to take Taylor or Arroyo.
Maybe. You think? At the end of the first?
Maybe.
You know, for the draft's sake, we'll just do it. Arroyo. I don't want his profile. Misclick. Draft. Okay, let's see. Let's see what the grades are here. If it says anything. We've earned an award. I don't want the app. Doesn't give us the grade for any of the picks. But we're going to post this. So let us know what you think.
Here, scroll down. I want to see all the picks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty decent. I'm trying to think if we just blanked on people. Honestly, I kind of forgot about Jalen Walker because they have him listed as the 25th best player.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Carolina likes him, so that would have been interesting. I think then Seattle goes receiver maybe.
Yeah.
And I think Houston might go interior offensive line. I don't know, that's kind of interesting. I don't know, I think it's pretty decent. A lot of run on defensive players, but I'd like to see. We just can't see who's left on the board.
No, unfortunately not.
No, that's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see if we like just like blank, just because their board would look super hard. But I just wanted to see if like their board, like I guess from the Bills' perspective, do anyone straight up in front of them to draft Dart? Obviously, we had Shedeur going to Pittsburgh, but does anyone go up for Dart? Does anyone go up for Milroe? Trying to think. Like Hampton didn't go in this mock. Like I guess maybe does he go?
Right.
Does Henderson find a way? But I think Henderson would go, like people think he might go 31 to the Chiefs, so that doesn't impact the Bills. I'm trying to just like think like realistically, maybe I don't know. Will Johnson has massive injury concerns apparently with his knee cartilage.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very interesting run on defensive linemen right before the Bills.
Yes,
but then they still get Harmon, which kind of shows you kind of the possibility of Harmon actually could still be there because of all the edges that went off.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, Starks goes off.
And I know a lot of people are Kenneth Grant lovers, but I think he's gone before pick 30. I think the Bills would have to move up for him, maybe, depending on how the board falls.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good mock. I mean, I don't know how accurate we're going to be because
it'll be interesting to see. We'll do that next episode. We'll see how well we did
I
it.
doubt it's going to be super accurate. If you scroll up for a second, I would predict that we get the
first four.
First four right,
and then from there
it just goes crapped.
Because you think we talked before we started recording. You think the Jaguars trade, or that you think the Jaguars take Genty?
I think the Jaguars are going to probably take Genty. I think the Raiders, are going to take Membu, an offensive lineman. I think the Jets are going to take Walker, that edge out of Georgia. Carolina's kind of in an interesting spot. Do they go Ted or whatever? I think the Saints are going to actually draft Malcolm Williams. That was a good pick. I think the Bears would be interested in Warren, Jade. I just think with Will Johnson's injury concerns, he'd be the corner that the Niners would take.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Banks, I think the Dolphins really like him. I know the Cowboys like Golden. Obviously, the Colts drafting a tight end. We have 50% chance, I think, of getting that one right.
Yeah, right.
And then I don't know if Walker's going to be there for the Falcons, but I do think they're going to go edge, so that was the right position. I think the Cardinals could still go edge, so I don't know if they're going to pick Booker. The Bengals are going to pick edge, probably. Seattle, depending on if there's a receiver they like on the board, but they're probably going to go interior offensive lineman. Tampa could do a bunch of crap, I'm to be honest.
Yeah, they're just looking for defense.
Tampa could be like edge. They could be
linebacker.
They could have drafted Will Johnson. Obviously, Jahad Campbell kind of falls there.
Mm-hmm.
Denver kind of could be a lot of things. That could have been Hampton. Steelers are just kind of, are they going to take Shedeur there or make him fall? Chargers are kind of a lot. I'd assume, honestly, if Kenneth Grant's on the board, I would have swapped.
The Chargers?
Yeah, I just think with Harbaugh that's too easy of connection.
Yeah.
The Packers are probably going to draft edge. Again, Houston's kind of like, do they like the offensive lineman, if not Ibuka or some other position? The Rams are kind of an unknown. They could be a dart team or a trade-out team. The Ravens are just going to draft best player available. And I think both the Lions and Commanders both need edge. And then we go to our fine team, and it's kind of fallen that, if Starks is on the board, I guess going off this segment, forgetting our mock draft and everyone else's mock draft, would there be any pick that would be like, that would give you the, the ick of, I think last year, I'm going to be honest, I think Keon gave us the ick. It was like, oh man, they picked the receiver that can't separate them, ran a 4.6, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, everyone tweeted out wrong one. Like,
yeah.
I even was like, this isn't the right one.
When they picked Josh over Rosen,
wrong Josh,
like,
yeah.
I guess from the time this is our third draft now, Elam was kind of, we actually thought that was not a scheme fit, but it was like, all right, they needed a corner.
Yeah.
Kincaid, I think it was surprising because it was like, oh, we thought they were going to draft offensive weapon, but they drafted tight end. And then, obviously, when they traded out, but they got Keon, it was like, oh, like we knew they were going to draft receiver. But it was like, I don't know if I would have drafted that receiver. So, is there any person that would make you feel that way? Like, if any, I guess I should say person, but like any position that I'd be like, I'm not, like, not quarterback, obviously, like, come on.
Running back. But, like, that's a gimme. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess offensive line.
I'm talking, like, I guess, like, outside of the easy ones, or, like, I guess, you said it. I would say linebacker.
I wouldn't want a linebacker in the
but
first.
if they drafted a linebacker, I would do the
Yeah.
It'd be like, oh man.
No, that's a later round pick for me. Like I'm not.
Yeah,
if
that
they
would
if
be
they
bad.
if they spend their first round pick on the line, because especially where we were at on the board, if they stay at 30, the linebackers available, they're not first round line.
People like that UCLA linebacker.
I know, but still,
Carson. I'm not even pretending to say his last name.
no,
So I'm gonna butcher
I'm
it.
not either. I'm avoiding that.
Whatever, but
That
would be the position. That would be the one thing.
Linebacker, I'm not. If I'm the Bills, I'm not even thinking linebacker in the first round.
Like receiver, I could be talked into if like the value is just there for like Matthew Golden.
Right.
That's
Luther
probably
Burden was also mentioned as
I
well at that point.
I don't know about Luther Burden.
No?
He's kind of. I feel like. I don't know.
Is he too similar to players we have? Or
He's kind of slottish. I don't think he runs good routes.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good with the ball in his hands, but it's like you're kind of just naming calculation here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
well, it's like drafting. Who did the Chargers take last year? McConkey.
Oh.
And everyone's. I mean, McConkey's a little more than a slot guy, but
McConkey's a way better route runner than Burden. Way better.
I'm saying like the Shakir comparison. Like
That was a terrible comparison.
They wanted a big guy last year. They didn't want McConkey.
I think they didn't draft McConkey because he has medical issues.
He had medical issues.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't even remember that.
Like he had honestly how you could see the Giants draft board of like for some reason like in their Hard Knocks you could see like
you could look at it.
He was like pink and it was pink
for injury.
When you looked at like the legend was pink was like injury concerns, which is kind of true. He got banged up a little bit, but yeah, I think linebacker would be the position. I don't think like corner I'd be like great. Interior defensive lineman, great. Edge, depending on what edge. You know, if it's like Landon Jackson, I'd be like, eh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
like even wide receiver, like you said, there are a couple.
If it's like James Pierce or Zaraka, you're like, okay, I could deal with that. Mm-hmm. Linebacker would just be a guy that would be a throw up pick.
Yeah, I think you're waiting a while for linebacker.
Out of the realistic ones, because I don't want to be like tight end because it's like, all right, that's not realistic.
But yeah, guard, quarterback, running back, tight end. Like no, like
those aren't realistic. But safety would be pretty close. Safety would be in between.
Yeah, I'd be like, why? But I wouldn't be like, you know.
Only if it was Starks.
Yes.
If it was Eamon Warrior, I'd be like, oh man, Eamon Warrior would give me actually a Von pick. That would give me a linebacker pick because it's like, what are we doing here? I know we want like the athletic guy, but the more and more you think about it, like that dude just, I'm sorry, you test well, but you don't play. You don't play with that speed because you don't react quick enough.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, I don't know, man. I soured on that idea. I also think he's just like really similar to like what you already have, which is you have guys that could maybe play towards line of scrimmage in the run game, like, but not a post safety that could play the deep third, and that's kind of what I think they need.
You look at that Nico Collins play specifically last year, and you're like, okay, they need someone who can stop that from happening, and they don't have that.
But I don't know. I think it's easily the most fascinating draft. I think of what we've done because again, from a perspective of like we just don't know what position they're gonna pick.
No.
Again, last year. Wide receiver. A couple years ago, Elam was a clear corner. I think Kincaid was kind of like a clear, like we're probably drafting an offensive skill position player. I don't think anyone, again, would have thought that they were going to draft a tight end, but
tight end was not on the radar. Like, yes, hammer it down. They're drafting a tight end, but you're right. Offensive skill position was, so I guess you can make a case for that. But yeah, this one is more. Last year was wide receiver train. This one is just kind of, I'd be fine with this, and this, but not that.
All right,
so
I'm gonna make you pick right now. Bills' first round pick going to be
Kenneth Grant.
Okay, so you do think he's gonna fall?
I think he'll fall.
I think it's gonna be Trey Amos.
Yeah, I would.
I'm not saying that. I should have just said that like not as super disappointed as I said that, but like that's
put a little excitement behind it. Either or, I'm good though. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. No, I agree.
Like it's one of those drafts.
But I think it's Trey Amos. When I don't think they trade. I think they actually. Someone said like 2 out of the 7 Bean drafts they've stayed put. Mm-hmm. I think this is the 3rd draft where they stay put.
They stay put.
I just don't see it. I don't see it. Like you could have got me if Jedi Barron falls, but I think with Will Johnson's knee, I think he's going to go up higher because he's now the cornerback 2 behind. Well, I guess maybe cornerback 1, depending if you think Hunter's a.
Depending
receiver.
On what he's going to do, yeah.
But like Will Johnson, I would have been all for that idea like a week ago, but now everyone's like, yeah, his right knee cartilage from the surgery he had, like, it's just like he'll be fine now, but like it's just a ticking time bomb potentially
down the road. Yeah,
like the second contract longevity is like, yeah, I don't know. It was like, okay, maybe I don't know.
Is it going to end up like Juju's knee, where it just doesn't exist anymore?
Yeah, that did happen to Juju's knee.
Like the ACL just isn't there, or that might have been OBJ too. I think he had the same issue going on. Yeah, just doesn't exist ananymore. That knee's ready to explode at any
well, that's
second.
what they're concerned about. So
Yeah.
I that's why I was like, oh, I don't know if I would be all for that, but yeah, I think, and I guess trading back is, I guess only would be the option to be like if you think like you could get Tyreek Williams.
Right.
And you don't, unlike all like Harmon and Grant are off the board, and you like really want to draft DT, but I think they're going to stay at 30 and pick Amos. But
yeah,
before we end, Bandits
home game
against San Diego,
night 2 of the draft, so you have to miss that. But
they did lose them in the regular season.
they split. It was a back-to-back, so it was like they won the first one, lost the second one on a back-to-back.
Well, lost in Buffalo, won in San Diego.
Yeah, so it might have been flipped.
So, I was talking to someone about this. And I said to them, I was like, my concern. They made a good point. It's like they were like, I think if they get past this week, they're gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the way they've been playing, your concern would be like in a 1-game scenario, could they get tripped up? Like, 'cause after this, it's the semifinals and the finals, hopefully, and those are best out of 3. And it's like, all right, it's kind of hard thinking someone could beat them twice, and that's a hard thing. But beating them once, like,
yeah,
I don't want to pull the any given Sunday card, but like with this team, it kind of feels that way a little bit. And they're not haven't gotten blown out, but it's been like they played some pretty close games.
They
recently.
like to keep it close this season. They let it stay within a goal or 2, and they honestly, more times than not, are trailing by that goal, and then they overtake at the end.
We could look really foolish next pod because they could be like, yeah, we just like coasted the regular season once we went 8-1, and once playoffs happened, we were ready to roll and we're kicking the door down.
Yeah,
that could happen, or it could be like, yeah, all the warning signs that we had. And we're talking like a post-mortem season because they got upset. Like I honestly, like that's what sucks. Is like I honestly think both things could happen, and it's just hard to be like. I still think they're gonna win, but it's like
the home field advantage hasn't really proven.
I think it could be massive in the playoffs, but like again,
the games have been close,
too close for my comfort, and I don't know.
You got to hope Vince can keep it together as well, and not let in 15 goals in the game. Like that'd be preferable.
I got the Bandits winning 13-12.
13-12. Do you think it's gonna be a close
in
one?
Overtime.
Okay, well, yeah, very close one. I think they win it 16-12 in regulation. I think they're up
close,
by 4.
Closer and pull away, or they kind of like they.
I think it's just you're up by 2. You kind of keep that 2-goal buffer, and then you go up by 2 more near the end.
Empty netters and
yeah. So because they've played games like that too, and especially early in the season when they were dominating. But again, they just like it's like when you're for example, when you're go-kart racing, right, and you get the fast one, like you get the one that's clearly just tuned up better than any other of the go-karts that your friends are on or your family's on, whatever, and you're just riding in the front. You ease off the pedal a little bit. You drop back. You let it. You let them get close. You let them feel the competition because you don't want it to just be non-competitive and. Then you end up just speeding away at the end for the win. But I don't know. I hope they advance. I want them to three-peat. That'd be really cool. Yeah. So it's exciting stuff. Go see it if you can, and hopefully we'll have a couple series coming up.
No, preview.
That playoff structure is interesting. Should it just be series the whole way, even in the first round, or I don't know. The 1 seed doesn't even get a bye, like nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we're about to find out if they lose. We're gonna
see. We're gonna see how it works out. But I think that's gonna do it for this edition of the Buffalonian Podcast. Go back, look at the mock draft. We're gonna post it as well, and we'll see how it plays out tomorrow. The NFL draft starts at 7 p.m. and we'll see if the Bills are picking at 30, moving up, or shipping out to day 2. So again, that's gonna do it for this edition of the Buffalonian Podcast. I'm Joe Cali. As always, I've been joined by Dom Loss. And Dom, how do we always end these, buddy?
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.